If Ukraine can stop Russia in Kyiv, Ukraine will not be defeated by the Russians because Kyiv is going to be the hardest place for all of Russia, the Russian military, to try and conquer. Can Russia really take out and conquer Kyiv, Ukraine, thus winning the whole Ukraine war and their special mission operation, as they're calling it? Well, urban warfare is not a new concept for military history, but urban warfare in the 21st century is a new concept for many militaries in the 21st century, and here's why. The last time we saw urban warfare broadcasted like we do today with Ukraine was back during the Iraq War with the United States. The United States had to take out the capital, they had to take out Baghdad, they had to take out a city called Fallujah, and those were broadcasted to the world, and it was very, very ugly. The biggest difference is this. When the United States had to take out Fallujah, especially during Fallujah 2, they were fighting against an insurgency with minimal equipment, but they were willing to die for their cause. And even then, the United States, who was the most high-tech military in the world, they still struggled with trying to take over Fallujah. They literally had to go door to door to door. Now, here's where Russia is going to struggle. This whole door-to-door-to-door method in Kyiv might not work for Russia because Kyiv is massive. Let's look at an overhead view of Kyiv. Not only is Kyiv massive, it's a tactical nightmare. There are essentially two portions to the city. You have an eastern portion and a western portion divided by a major river with a ton of bridges. You then have two airports, which is even more difficult because Russia seems to not be able to hold airports, whereas Ukraine is counterattacking Russia and taking back their own airports. So if Russia is already struggling on open land territory warfare, how the hell are they really going to take Kyiv? Well, the main way they are only going to be able to stop Kyiv or try to conquer Kyiv is if they surround it and try to choke it out in siege warfare. This is the reason why everybody is saying that's what they're trying to do, because they are not even able to take over the airport. And the other thing is this. If they try to take over Kyiv and bring in their tanks, bring in their people, that means they will not be able to utilize their aircraft, such as their gunships, or really their air force in any way, and here's why. The city is too massive. There's going to be way too much collateral damage, and the Russians are really not that organized as we're seeing in their logistics and their air power. They still do not even have air superiority, and they're fighting against a military who doesn't even have that many aircraft. So how the hell are they going to take out a major city of Kyiv? That is why it seems like President Zelensky is very motivated, and so is the professional military of Ukraine. That's another key point. How is Russia going to take Kyiv when they're going to battle against a professional military with equipment such as javelins, NLAWs, and pretty much a lot of other equipment to their disposal? They also know the city inside and out. They probably have underground bunkers that Russia really has no idea about. Russia really is going into a situation that does not look good for them. And in my eyes and a lot of other professional security specialist eyes, nobody is convinced Russia actually can take over Kyiv because they are struggling already to even get there. To surround Kyiv is also going to be a logistical disaster. Like I said, they have a river splitting the whole city. That's going to be very difficult to try and navigate because, yeah, it seems very simple. Let's just build a bridge across the river. But hey, the amount of javelins and NLAWs the Ukrainians have, it's going to be very difficult for Russia to try maintaining and building these type of bridges to try crossing a river. The biggest thing, though, that Russia might have in their advantage is the fact that javelins actually might not do so well in urban warfare, so Ukraine will have to change their tactics and how they try to defeat Russia. And even in the Javelin handbook, it states using a javelin in close combat might actually hinder the javelin's use because debris might affect the way that the warhead goes and attacks its target. So Ukraine also might have some difficulties in trying to hold Kyiv and other major cities in Ukraine, but specifically Kyiv, of all the cities for Russia to want to take out and invade, this is going to be something of history we've never seen before in the 21st century, and Russia is really writing their own playbook on how to try and navigate Kyiv, because they are fighting under the 21st century rule books. That means there's TikTok and social media watching everything. Russia, you cannot take out civilian populations, you cannot take out Orthodox churches or any other religious areas. And Russia seems to be really struggling with that. That's why we're not seeing so many airstrikes. We're not seeing a ton of artillery strikes in the amount we know Russia can do. It just looks like they're trying to probe and let Ukraine know, hey, we are willing to fight. We are willing to be here. Are you going to fight us one-on-one? And I am just not convinced Russia can take over Kyiv just because of the logistical nightmare, how massive Kyiv is, and the door-to-door operation that Russia is going to have to deal with. They have to fight a professional military. They also have to fight essentially an insurgency that Ukraine is building. There are literally grandmas who are throwing tomato cans at Russian drones trying to stop drones. This is a whole collective country fighting against the Russian military, and I think Russia has made a massive mistake in trying to take over Kyiv and really all of Ukraine. But again, Russia trying to encircle the city, it can be done. And again, we've seen this in Roman warfare. We've seen this in medieval warfare. Let's see if Russia can pull this off. Luckily, at the time of making this video, there are peace talks, which is a good sign for Ukraine and Russia. And it does look like that they do want to somehow come up with a ceasefire clause. But Russia, again, at the time of making this video, Putin is sticking to, no, the only way we will provide a ceasefire is if you disarm your whole military and then you fall under the Russian government, essentially because they want to put up a coup government that'll abide under everything Russia does, sort of like Belarus. But Zelensky is saying, no, we're not going to do that. We are going to fight to the death. And it seems like Kyiv is going to be the Armageddon for Ukraine, because Kyiv is going to be the spot where the proving grounds happen. Can Russia really navigate and take out these major buildings, take out these major forces who are willing to die and fight for their cause? And is Ukraine really going to step up to the plate and show what they're made of? If Ukraine can stop Russia in Kyiv, Ukraine will not be defeated by the Russians, because Kyiv is going to be the hardest place for all of Russia, the Russian military, to try and conquer. And honestly, from what I'm seeing and from a lot of other people are seeing, people I've talked to who have been in the battles of Fallujah and Baghdad, they're all saying there's no way in hell Russia is going to actually be able to take Kyiv and follow the rules of war.